Here we have Teach Yourself Visually Sock Knitting by Laura Chow. Now you can tell by the title that the best part about this book is all of the photos. And I can tell you it is just about like having someone sitting right next to you while you start your sock adventure. The very first chapter covers sock yarn and other materials. Excellent, because you're going to be faced with either a wall of sock yarns or a catalog of sock yarns, and it's nice to know exactly what you're getting yourself into. So Laura covers the yarn weights, protein fibers or cellulose fibers to kind of give you an idea of the pros and cons for each one. And then she covers color selection, which doesn't actually sound like a big deal if you've been doing other knitting, but I can tell you when you are faced with a wall of brilliantly colored yarns, you are going to want to know how to choose the colors. So she covers solid yarns, she covers machine dyed, hand dyed, and also painted, so that you understand how to go to the next step, which is choosing a pattern. If you have a hand-dyed yarn, you're going to want to pick a sock pattern that's a little more simple to work with the hand dyes, as opposed to something that's more stitch and texture based to use with a more single color yarn. That's the kind of thing you need to know. All of the photos are very helpful in that. The next chapter, chapter 2, talks about knitting techniques. What I love about this chapter is Laura doesn't actually have you start on a sock. What she does is she has you make a swatch. This is perfect. Look at this. You're going to learn how to pick up stitches along the edge, which in a sock would be along the edge of a gusset. But you don't have to be intimidated by starting the sock yet. You could learn the technique on just a flat piece of a nothing bit of knitting. It doesn't matter if you make mistakes. It's so exciting to do it that way. Then you actually get started. I know you thought that was never going to happen, but chapter 3, you actually get started, and you're going to learn how to use double-pointed needles, 2 circulars, or 1 long magic loop. Details and details and details about that. See, and my favorite thing is how to knit a faux round swatch. This is a way to not have to actually cast on all the stitches for a sock, just half of them, and be able to still get a good gauge. One of those tips you'd get from a friend sitting next to you teaching you how to knit that is often missing in maybe a smaller book. Love this part. You learn the anatomy of a sock. You get to see exactly how a sock is put together, and then my favorite part is how to measure a foot for a sock. What I do is I do these measurements and then I put them in my little palm planner for all the people I want to make socks for, and I have them on record when I want to start a sock. Then you get to actually go to chapter 4. You've learned all your little techniques on your sampler. You start the first chapter with traditional top-down socks in chapter 4. And I love the fact that each one of these chapters covers all of the little steps, like knitting an afterthought heel for a top-down, but they're just the little sections, and it's not until you get to the end of the chapter that Laura actually gives you a basic top-down sock pattern. So you get all the little bits and then a real pattern. Chapter 5 is, hold on, I got there. Chapter 5, flat socks. A very intriguing idea. There are times when knitting a flat sock is appealing. The only thing that comes to my mind as soon as I hear flat sock, of course, is seaming. I'm not about to do that. So what does she do? Of course, sew up the socks, shows you all the little tools in the photo, tons of photos, and then goes through and shows you how to make the seam nice and smooth and perfect. So the one thing I was afraid of, Laura already took care of it. The next chapter is chapter 6. I like toe-up socks when I'm not sure I'm going to have enough yarn to actually make long legs on my socks. And that way I can make little short socks if I'm stuck. So chapter 6 is toe-up. Again, top down and toe up. You learn how to do them on double points, 2 circulars, or a magic loop. Now in this case, I love it because on the toe up, she covers the 2 heels that are possible for you, okay? It can be a short row heel, but if you like a more traditional heel, Laura also gives you instructions for that. Again, all of the little elements of a toe-up sock, and then you get your basic toe-up sock pattern. So you have 3 main chapters, the top-down, the flat, and the toe-up, where you get every single little step and then one basic pattern. After that, chapter 7, more sock patterns. This is excellent because Laura uses the intrigue of brand new sock patterns to sort of fool you into learning some new techniques. As an example, here is a slip stitch rigid sock. Perfect, lovely photo. Gives you your close-up of your stitches, but then she sneaks in an eye of the partridge heel, which is just a slip stitch in a different kind of pattern, but it's kind of nice to have it be part of a new sock that you're trying out. The next thing she does that I just love is these cabled cuff socks. Again, what I love here is that you're learning how to make a garter stitch heel and a garter stitch toe. Extra padding, extra cushion. Nice little trick to know. And then the last pair, don't really have a new trick, but I just love them anyway. These are the toe-up cables galore socks, and I just like them because they're pretty and I love being able to do a lot of cables. So that is Teach Yourself Visually Sock Knitting by Laura Chow.